Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ummah Radio. You are listening to the Mustalahul Hadeeth class with myself, Abu Mus'ab. Alright, so we are still busy with the Kitaab known as Muqaddimatun fi Usoolil Hadeeth of Maulana Abdul Haq ad-Dihlawi rahimahullah. And tonight, inshaAllah, will be our final class of this Kitaab because we are on the last tiny portion which we will complete tonight, inshaAllah. There's been a lot that this Kitab has taught, the various terminologies and stuff which have been passed through. Like I mentioned when we started right in the beginning, that this Kitab is what is done in the Darul Ulooms as the standard book with regards to Mustalahul Hadeeth. And this book is sufficient to give you an understanding of all the terminologies of Hadith that you will generally be coming along and coming in contact with. But apart from the ones which are mentioned in this book, there are certain additional terminologies and stuff which are not mentioned in this book over here. So in any case, like I say, there's a lot that can be said about this Kitab and all the different terminologies, and the whole point is, like he says, it is a muqaddimah. A muqaddimah means an introduction. It is sufficient to tell you that it is a shortened version. It's not the entire thing like a person could wish that every single last thing is put in this book, but there is sufficient in here to give you a complete or semi-complete understanding of the terminologies of hadith. And okay, so yes, this book is sufficient to give you an understanding of all these various terminologies that we have come across. And for you, in your own personal self, if you want to go further, you can go with the, as long as you understood and comprehended the terminologies and stuff which have been passed along in this book here, then you have no problems as far as the science of hadith is concerned. Yes, like I say, there are certain terms which you will come across which will be new and which you don't know, and you will require additional research as to what it means and stuff, all of that sort. But if you were to take any of the general books of hadith, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Nasai, Ibn Majah, and so on and so forth, the major books of hadith, and you were to read it, what you have learnt in this kitab would give you sufficient understanding to understand those books of hadith. Alright, so anyhow, in our last class we had stopped on page 100, which was in the last chapter of this Kitab Muqaddimatun fi Usoolil Hadeeth, which was the chapter on the 6 famous books of Hadith, and we spoke about the reason behind it being called the 6 authentic books of Hadith, and also that certain ulama chose other books like the Sunan of Imam ad-Darimi, others chose the Muwatta of Imam Malik rahimahullah, and so on and so forth, instead of, for example, Ibn Majah, and that's what they made up their 6 famous, or rather 6 most authentic books of hadith. But in any case, we stopped then on the point, the top of the page of page 100, which starts with Masadir al-Suyuti fi Jami' al-Jawami'. So that is where we are beginning from tonight, inshaAllah. So then to begin with, Bismillahi walhamdulillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Like I said, there's very little left to do, so if I were to just read what is mentioned in the matan of the kitab, then we'll finish in 5 minutes. So what I'm going to also do is read a bit from the footnotes, which all basically fits in as part of this whole science of hadith, because hadith terminologies and all this, the authenticity of hadith and things, rely on the people who are the narrators and stuff. So if you don't know who are the narrators, who are the rawis, who are the people who wrote the books of hadith and stuff like this, then you can't get an understanding firstly of its authenticity, and you also don't get the feeling of appreciation and the loftiness and greatness of these kitabs if you don't know the loftiness of its authors. So That's why I'm just going to touch on where there are certain footnotes here tonight, inshallah. Just touch on those footnotes over there, just so you can get a bit of an insight as to who these people were. So the first heading of tonight is مصادر السيوطي في جمع الجوامع. He says that the reasons and the sources of Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah in his Kitab جمع الجوامع. That's the name of one of his kitabs. He says ولقد أورد السيوطي في كتاب جمع الجوامع من كتب كثيرة يتجاوز 50 مشتملة على الصحاح والحسان والضعاف. He says that Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah had compiled in his kitab. The kitab's name is Jam' al-Jawami'. He compiled in there referencing more than 50 books of hadith. Okay, question over here. I've heard this name many times. Who was he? Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah. In fact, I was going to mention that right now because the footnote over there, I was just actually reading till the end of the statement, then I'm coming to his name. So in any case, that Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah, in this kitab Jam' al-Jawami', he narrated a hadith and listed them from more than 50 books of hadith. So Bukhari is one book, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan al-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah. So many books he reported from books of hadith that it surpassed 50 books. That's how many, that alone should tell you just how many books of hadith there are out there that the majority of people are unaware of. If you sit down and you make a note of how many books of hadith you know, let's say for example Sunan ad-Darimi, ad-Daraqutni, Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, and all those ones over there, even with that, it won't take you up to 50. Maybe take you up to 30, 35. Then you have to take in all those Abu Awana and all those other ones before you actually reach 50. So that Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah listed in this kitab, referencing more than 50 books of hadith, alone tells you just the great amount of hadith books. Okay, question over here. Why are some books more famous than others? Okay. Why some books are more famous than others are for numerous reasons. You see, what made the books famous is who the books were narrated by. You see, for example, you can take the similar example of there was more than just 4 madhabs. Like many people think there were only just 4 madhahib, but there existed numerous madhahib as well. For example, you had the Zahiri madhab, you had the Laythi madhab, you had the Awza'i madhab, you had all these various other madhahib as well. Imam Layth ibn Sa'ad, Imam Dawood al-Zahiri, Imam al-Awza'i rahimahullah. All of them were proper, legitimate madhahib. But you don't hear of those madhahib anymore. They don't exist. They became extinct. Why? The reason is because the ulama of the 4 madhahib, Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki and Hanbali, they were more famous, and I wouldn't call it famous in the sense, it's more that they had more students and they recorded their knowledge in books, and that is what kept it and caused it to be safeguarded over the years. For example, the Laythi madhab, Imam Layth ibn Sa'ad, his students did not record it down in a book. So you had a short lifespan for the madhab of Imam al-Awza'i. Likewise with the madhab of Imam Layth ibn Sa'ad and Imam al-Awza'i, their madhahib did not live very long. And likewise there were other madhahib as well. The Zahiri madhab, Imam Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi rahimahullah, he basically is the most famous Zahiri that you can find. And of course he wrote many kitabs and everything, but the thing is that he was basically, so to say, the most famous one. Besides him, there's no one really well known. So those madhahib tend to die out and become extinct. And likewise when it comes to the books of ahadith, people like Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam At-Tirmidhi, and so on and so forth, they were the most famous. They had so many hundreds, some had thousands of students. And how many thousands sat and listened to the hadith from Imam Bukhari, who wrote the book down, and then they went along and spread the hadith to other people, and so on and so forth. And that is how the book reached all the 4 corners of the world and things like that. That is how certain books became more famous than others. Like even if you take in today's times, how does one alim become more famous than others? Whether it's in the sense that maybe he's the most knowledgeable person around on a particular subject, then that will give him fame in the world. Or maybe he's used to giving powerful lectures, and that gives him more fame. That person say, if you want to understand this topic, then this sheikh, this alim, he has written something on the topic. So that gives them more fame, not because they're out there looking for name and fame, but because the knowledge and stuff has brought them to that level. And more importantly is that Allah has accepted these works from them, and that is how they became famous. Not to say that any of the Muhadditheen, their works were not accepted, but it's just that for example, the Kitaab Sahih al-Bukhari is, you can say it is, in fact the ulama term it as the most authentic book after the Quran. There is no more authentic book after the Quran than Sahih al-Bukhari, and that these books are what supports and safeguards the Sunnah, that Allah safeguards the Sunnah through these books of Hadith and through the ulama and stuff like that. So the first thing of fame and stuff like that comes from the side of Allah, and then everything else comes from like the students and recording and stuff of that nature. Wallahu a'lam. Okay, anyway, coming back to where we were, he was saying that the Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah, in this kitab Jam'ul Jawami', he referenced more than 50 books of ahadith, and this book consists of Sahih, Hasan and Da'if ahadith. And Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah, he said, وقال ما أوردت فيها حديثا موسوما بالوضع اتفق المحدثون على تركه ورده والله أعلم. He says that Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah made this statement and said that I have not recorded in this book a hadith which is termed as being fabricated, which the Muhadditheen all have consensus upon it being rejected and to be discarded. I have not included any of those sort of narrations in this book, meaning that he have authentic ahadith, he has Hasan ahadith, and he has Da'if ahadith. Da'if, which are maybe one regard it as da'if and the other one don't regard it as da'if, or maybe all regard it as a da'if, but it's not on such a level that it's to be thrown out as the shadidul da'af and stuff of that sort. So this is now what Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah had compiled in this kitab Jam'ul Jawami'. So now let's move on to footnote number 1, so we can see who is Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah. His name is Jalaluddin As-Suyuti, even though it says here Al-Jalal As-Suyuti. He was born in the year 849 after Hijrah and passed away in the year 911. His name is Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr ibn Muhammad ibn Sabiquddin al-Khudairi As-Suyuti. That's Imam As-Suyuti. He is an Imam, a Hafiz. When the term Hafiz is used in the terminology of Hadith, it does not mean a memorizer of the Quran. A Hafiz in the terminology of the Muhadditheen means a person who has memorized at least 100,000 Hadith. Such a person is termed a Hafiz. So you have a Hafiz al-Quran when the term Hafiz is used in that sense, but when it comes to Hadith, then it means a memorizer of Hadith. And one point, when you come across in a book that Al-Hafiz said, the Hafiz has said, then that term is unanimous according to all the ulama that the term Al-Hafiz refers to Imam Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani rahimahullah. So if ever you come across a kitab and there's no mention of who it is, it just says the Hafiz has said so, then it means, or rather it refers to Imam Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani, that he has said this particular statement. So you have many Huffaz of Hadith, but when the term alone Hafiz is used, it refers to Imam Ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani. Any case, so he was an Imam, he was a Hafiz, he was a Mu'arrikh, meaning a historian. An Adib. Adib means a person of adab. Adab don't here mean what you would term as manners and stuff. Adab here means linguistics. Lahu Nahu. He has close to 600 or around about 600 books that he has authored. Meaning Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah has authored about close to 600 kitabs. Obviously not everything is massive volumes, but still, whether it's a small kitab or a big kitab, whatever the case may be, he has written close to 600 kitabs. He was born in Cairo, as he grew up as an orphan in Cairo. And when he reached the age of 40, he pulled himself away from the people and went into seclusion. And he wrote the majority of his kitabs during the seclusion time of his. From the famous books of Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah is Al-Itqan fi Ulum al-Quran. This is on the, as you could say, like you have this topic we are doing, Ulumul Hadeeth, Mustalahul Hadeeth. This kitab here, Al-Itqan fi Ulum al-Quran, is one of the very famous books when it comes to Ulum al-Quran, the science of the Quran, Nasikh and Mansukh, and all those sort of stuff over there. He's also the author of Ad-Durrul Manthur fi Tafsiri bil Ma'thur. That's another tafsir. It's separate from the tafsir known as Tafsir Jalalain. Tafsir Jalalain, it was written partially by Imam Jalaluddin As-Suyuti and also partially by Imam Jalaluddin Al-Mahalli rahimahumullah. That was a joint tafsir. That Imam Jalaluddin Al-Mahalli passed away, then Imam Jalaluddin As-Suyuti rahimahullah continued on and completed the tafsir. So that's why it's termed as Jalalain, the two Jalals, Jalaluddin Al-Mahalli and Jalaluddin As-Suyuti. So that was a joint tafsir, but the one written by Imam Suyuti rahimahullah alone is Ad-Durrul Manthur fi Tafsiri bil Ma'thur. He's also the author of the Kitab Al-Jami' al-Saghir, the author of Jam' al-Jawami' and many other books of, whether it's in any science. If you look, for example, the Kitab Al-Ghurar fi Fadaili Umar radiyallahu anhu, that kitab on the virtues of Hadrat Umar radiyallahu anhu, written by Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah. If you take the kitab, there's another one similar to that on the virtues of Hadrat Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu, also written by Imam As-Suyuti, and many other kitabs which Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah has written. Very famous alim. He was a Shafi'i by fiqh, Ash'ari in Aqidah, and like I say, you'll always have come across his name mainly from the point of his tafsir Jalalain, and also when it comes to the Ulumul Quran, like I mentioned, his Kitab Al-Itqan. But like I say, he got many books of ahadith and stuff as well, and Jarh wa Ta'adil and stuff, all of that sort. So he's very famous in all fields. Now moving on now to footnote number 2. He speaks on the Kitab Jam'ul Jawami' and the reasoning behind it, or rather the history behind the kitab. He says, ذكر السيوطي أنه قصد فيه استيعاب الأحاديث النبوية بأسرها. He says that Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah mentioned that when he started writing the kitab Jam'ul Jawami', what spurred him on to write this kitab is that he intended to compile every single known hadith in its entirety. He intended to compile each and every single one in this kitab known as Jam'ul Jawami'. But وقد اخترمته المنية قبل إتمامه. But unfortunately, Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah, he passed away before he had a chance to complete it. So what Imam As-Suyuti rahimahullah was trying to do was to have every single known hadith reported and compiled in one single kitab, minus all the additions, as you can say, the repetitions that the hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim and Tirmidhi and Abu Dawud and Ibn Majah and Nasai, maybe in all 6 books. He wouldn't now report it 6 times, but rather he would put it maybe like 1 time. But what he intended was to compile all the hadith that you can say that is known to man. He intended to have it all compiled in this one singular spot. But due to him passing away, he did not get a chance to complete this kitab. If he had completed the kitab, it would have been the biggest book of hadith that you can find. But presently, the book with the most ahadith in it, from a number perspective, is the Musnad of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, because that has round about 30,000 ahadith in that kitab over there. If you compare to the book like Sahih al-Bukhari, which has 6,000 and something ahadith, the Musnad of Imam Ahmad has got 30,000. So quite a big difference. Other Muhadditheen also wrote with big large amounts like that. Imam al-Bayhaqi rahimahullah is also in that 20-something thousand, and so on and so forth. But anyhow, this would have been the biggest of all if Imam Suyuti rahimahullah had gotten a chance to complete it. Okay, so we move on now to the next page. He says, جماعة من الأئمة المتقنين. He's speaking now on a group of the pious A'imma, the pious scholars. He says, وذكر صاحب المشكاة في ديباجة كتابه جماعة من الأئمة المتقنين وهم. He says that the author of the Kitab al-Mishkat, Mishkat I mentioned last time, it is al-Mishkat al-Masabih, which is written by Imam Khatib al-Tabrizi rahimahullah, which is based on the Kitab Masabih al-Sunnah of the Imam al-Baghawi rahimahullah. But in any case, that Imam al-Tabrizi, in his introduction to his Kitab al-Mishkat, he mentions a group of the A'imma that he reports from, or rather that he references in his Kitab al-Mishkat. Okay, before we go on to the names, let's move on to footnote number 1. Who is the author of al-Mishkat? He says, هو الإمام ولي الدين أبو عبد الله محمد بن عبد الله أو عبيد الله كما في آخر كتابه الإكمال الخطيب العمري التبريزي. He says that his name is Waliyuddin Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Abdullah or Muhammad ibn Ubaidillah, one of the two, as it's mentioned in his last kitab Al-Ikmal. He is Al-Khatib Al-Umari At-Tabrizi, passed away in the year 742. He says Mullah Ali Qari rahimahullah had described him as Maulana Al-Hibr Al-Allama Wal-Bahr Al-Fahama, all the great praises, what a knowledgeable, understanding sea of ocean of knowledge and stuff, as they had praised him, how much knowledge he had. He says وهو من أخص تلامذة الطيب كما صرح هو في آخر كتابه الإكمال في أسماء الرجال, that he was one of the most prominent students of Imam al-Tibi. Now Imam al-Tibi rahimahullah is again one of the famous ulama, but okay, they don't give his biography over here, but he's also one of the famous ulama, and he was this Imam al-Tabrizi was the student of Imam al-Tibi rahimahullah. Okay, his name was Al-Husayn ibn Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Tibi. He just gives you his name, but he does not give you a biography of him. Okay, I'm going to skip the next part. It's all just praises. So we're moving on to the next page then, which is now he mentioned that the author of Al-Mishkat had mentioned certain names of the pious ulama, and who are these people that he mentioned that he is referencing. He says Al-Bukhari wa Muslimun wal Imam Malik wal Imam Shafi'i والإمام أحمد بن حنبل والترمذي وأبو داود والنسائي وابن ماجه والدارمي والدارقطني والبيهقي ورزين وأجمل في ذكر غيرهم. I'll stop on that point there just for now and just say. So he says he reports from Imam al-Bukhari, who you know. He reports from Imam Muslim, who you know. He reports from Imam Malik, who you know. This is Imam Malik ibn Anas, Imam Dar al-Hijra, the Imam Malik of the Maliki Madhab. He reports from Imam al-Shafi'i, not reports, but rather he references the hadith from their kitabs in his kitab al-Mishkat. So he says Imam al-Shafi'i, who is Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, the founder of the Shafi'i Madhab, the famous Imam al-Shafi'i. That's who he references as well. Also, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah as well, he references from the Musnad in his kitab Mishkat. Also from Imam At-Tirmidhi and Imam Abu Dawud, from Imam An-Nasai, from Imam Ibn Majah, from Imam Ad-Darimi, from Imam Ad-Daraqutni, from Imam Al-Bayhaqi, and also from Imam Razin. Imam Razin also, he's also in Muhaddith, also Razin ibn Muawiyah ibn Ammar Al-Abdari Al-Andalusi. He had also written a book on Hadith, where he, I would say, not a book like, for example, you take Mishkat or you take Riyadh al-Salihin, which is, it references a hadith from other sources, but the book of Imam Razin rahimahullah, At-Tajridu Lis-Sihah Sitta, it is a book consisting of unique ahadith in that kitab alone. Like Imam Muslim had his unique, Imam Bukhari had his unique ones. Likewise, Imam Razin rahimahullah had his own unique ahadith with his own sanads which he had reported over there. So that is Imam Razin. And then he mentions وَأَجْمَلَ فِي ذِكْرِ غَيْرِهِمْ. Ajmala, he don't mean he did it beautifully by mentioning the others. No, Ajmala here is what you would call mujmal, meaning he was very concise in mentioning others than them. Meaning he restricted himself to mentioning these ulama over here, and he did not go into mentioning other muhadditheen or to reference them in his kitab. Okay, let's just touch on the biographies, not doing the whole biographies, but in any case, let's touch just the biographies of the three A'immah. He did not reference Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah in his kitab, but in any ccase, let's go with Imam Malik rahimahullah first. He says, هو الإمام المعروف مالك بن أنس بن مالك بن أبي عامر بن عمرو بن الحارث الأصبحي الحميري أبو عبد الله المدني شيخ الأئمة وإمام دار الهجرة وأحد الأئمة الأربعة. He says that he is the famous Imam Malik ibn Anas ibn Malik ibn Abi Amir ibn Amr ibn al-Harith al-Asbahi al-Himyari. Al-Himyari, you can see from the time of Himyar. He is Abu Abdullah al-Madani. He is the known as Imam Dar al-Hijrah, one of the four A'imma. And now he mentions, and this is, if you look at the book like this here, وروى عن نافع ومحمد بن المنكدر وجعفر الصادق وحميد الطويل وخلق. I spoke on this last time as well, that this is how you see who he reports from and who learned from him. He reported from Nafi'. Now Nafi', okay, we'll come to Nafi' in a moment. So he reported from Nafi', who was the freed slave of Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. He reported from Muhammad ibn al-Munkadir, very famous. He reports from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, this is from the Ahlul Bayt, who the Shia claim to be one of the A'imma, but he is free from the kufr of the Shia, and he is one of the A'imma of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. He is Ja'far al-Sadiq, the son of Muhammad Baqir. Ja'far bin Muhammad bin Ali bin Hussein bin Ali bin Abi Talib. That's his shajara, his family tree. Ja'far al-Sadiq, the son of Muhammad Baqir, the son of Ali Zainul Abidin, the son of Hussein ibn Ali, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhum. That's now his lineage over there. And then he reports from Humayd al-Tawil, very famous, always you'll find his name in the Asanid, Imam Humayd al-Tawil. And then he mentions wa khalq, and like I mentioned last time, when he says wa khalq, it means many others as well he reports from. Then وروى عنه الإمام الشافعي والإمام محمد وخلائق جمعهم الخطيب في مجلد. Imam al-Shafi'i, Imam Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani, the student of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, the two of them, and a large amount of other ulama, all narrated a hadith from Imam Malik rahimahullah. And Imam Khatib al-Baghdadi, if I'm not mistaken, he had gathered them all in written one book, one volume, with all the names of the students of Imam Malik rahimahullah. He says, قال البخاري الصح الأسانيد مالك عن نافع عن ابن عمر وقال الشافعي إذا جاء الأثر فمالك النجم. We spoke last time on the thulathiyat, the narrations, which contain only 3 people in the sanad, and we spoke on what was known as the golden chain last time, that certain ulama say that there are certain asanid which are more authentic than any other asanid, and as you remember, there were different opinions as to what the most authentic sanad was, but one of them was Malik an Nafi' an Ibn Umar, or rather, basically Imam Malik from Imam Nafi' from Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma. So this is what Imam Bukhari rahimahullah says is the most authentic of asanid, and this is what you would term the golden chain. Okay, then he goes on praise for Imam Malik and praise for his Kitab al-Muwatta, and then he goes on to more contemporary times. Moving on now to Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. He says, هو الإمام أبو عبد الله محمد بن إدريس القرشي المطلبي المكي نزيل مصر أحد الأئمة الأربعة والعلم المفرد. He says that he is Imam Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Idris al-Qurashi al-Muttalibi al-Makki. So from this you see that Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, he was from the Quraysh, he was from Makkah, he was from the tribe of Abdul Muttalib. He was al-Muttalibi al-Makki al-Qurashi. He was from the Ahlul Bayt. He was a family, a descendant of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, or at least you can say from the tribe of Quraysh. Nazilu Misr, meaning he settled in Egypt, meaning he was not from Egypt originally, but he settled in Egypt. And in fact, he passed away in Egypt after the Shias killed him in Egypt anyway, but that is where he went to settle. He says, روى عن ابن عيينة ومالك وابن علي وخلق, that he reported from Imam Ibn Uyayna. This is Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna. He studied also under Imam Malik ibn Anas. He studied under Imam Ibn Ulayya, and he studied under many others. Now, Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna, again one of the great famous ulama. You know, there's one hadith which is reported, which, if I'm not mistaken, it comes in Sunan at-Tirmidhi, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that soon there will come a time when people will beat the livers of their camels, meaning that, you know, like when you are spurring the camel on and you hitting the camel like that, not you actually beating the liver, but you hitting the camel for the camel to move faster, which is implying that, meaning to in traveling, that they will soon the people will be traveling distances in search of knowledge, and they will not find an alim more knowledgeable than the alim of Medina. And the ulama, they differed as to who this person is. They had two candidates for this. Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna was the one, and Imam Malik ibn Anas rahimahullah was the other one. The majority says that this hadith actually refers to Imam Malik ibn Anas, Imam Malik rahimahullah himself, but there were some who said that it applied to Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna. That should tell you the level of these two ai*imma over there, that they were basically the only two candidates that fulfill this hadith, this prophecy of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that people will travel far and wide in search of knowledge, and they won't find anyone more knowledgeable than the alim of Medina. So in any case, that's Imam Sufyan ibn Uyayna and Imam Malik ibn Anas and Imam Ibn Ulayya. All of these are big famous names that you'll always come across when you're reading the books of hadith. Then وروى عنه ابنه أبو عثمان محمد والإمام أحمد بن حنبل وأبو ثور والمزني والربيع المرادي والبويطي وخلق. He says that his son Abu Uthman Muhammad and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Imam Abu Thawr, Imam al-Muzani, Imam Rabi' al-Muradi, wal-Buwaiti, and others, many others, they all were the students now of Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. Now Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he praises Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah by saying that إن الله تعالى يقيض للناس في رأس كل 100 سنة من يعلمهم السنن وينفي عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الكذب. فنظرنا فإذا في رأس 100 عمر بن عبد العزيز وفي رأس 200 الشافعي. He says that Allah causes a person to come out every 100 years who will teach the people the sunnah and dispel the lies away from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning people who make up fabrications and stuff like that, make their own things up and call it part of the deen. This person, basically the mujaddid, if you want to call it that way, will come out and reject and clarify the air with regard to this. So he said, we looked and we found at the year 100, the person who came out was Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, and at the year 200, the person who came out, in the opinion now of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah and others, was Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. Imam Rabi' ibn Sulaiman, he mentions another praise of Imam al-Shafi'i. He says, كان الشافعي يفتي وله 15 سنة وكان يحيي الليل إلى أن مات. He says that Imam Rabi' ibn Sulaiman, he says that Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah was 15 years old and he was giving fatwa. Now, fatwa in the terminology of the Salaf and the Khalaf as well, and fatwa in today's times are poles apart. It's like the earth and the sky. That's the difference between them. The distance. you can't comprehend it. In those times, to give fatwa was like, for someone to say this person is able to give fatwa, it was like the highest of praise. What extreme level of knowledge this person had to be able to give fatwa. That is what a mufti was in those days. In today's times, a person would go along, he'll maybe sit in a Darul Uloom, for example, for 5 years, 6 years, finish off a mufti course as well, learn nothing, just basically go through the motions and things come out, get a certificate, and there you go, he's called a mufti. He gives any batil opinion he comes out with, whether it's from ignorance, whether it's from deviance, whatever the case may be, and such a person is called a mufti in today's time. That was not at all how it was. Great ai were all alive around at the time, and they were not permitted to give fatwa. That is why for Imam Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah to have been given permission by the ulama of the time while he was only 15 years old that he can give fatwa is a praise of the highest regard. Okay, we move on now to the next page. We're just going to touch just on Imam Ahmad and then we can move on a little bit further. So he says, who is Imam Ahmad? He says, هو الإمام أحمد بن محمد بن حنبل بن هلال بن أسد الشيباني أبو عبد الله المروزي ثم البغدادي الإمام الشهير وآخر الأئمة الأربعة صاحب المسند والزهد وغير ذلك. He says that he is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, born in the year 164 and passed away in the year 241. He is Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal ibn Hilal ibn Asad al-Shaybani Abu Abdullah al-Marwazi ثم البغدادي, the famous Imam and the final of the 4 Imams, the author of the Musnad, and he also wrote a Kitaab by the name of Az-Zuhd, and he wrote other books as well. He says that, okay, you can see Al-Marwazi, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, Al-Marwazi means that he was from the town of Maro. Now Maro, as in the name in English, would be called Merv. Merv is a town which was situated in Khurasan. You can say basically he was an Afghan. That is who Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah was. So to come back, we were still discussing now Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah. I was speaking on the point that he was Abu Abdullah al-Marwazi. That al-Marwazi, this name Marwazi is from the town of Maru. In English the name is known as Merv. So he was from Khurasan. That is where Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah was from. ثم al-Baghdadi, meaning then he went along to Baghdad. He says, but here he says, وَوُلِدَ بِبَغْدَادَ سَنَةً. He was born actually in Baghdad in the year 164. Meaning that he was, if you put it in the sense, he was an Afghan born in Baghdad. Not an Iraqi, but rather an Afghan born over there. So anyhow, that's Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Then he mentions that he sought a hadith until the year 179, and then, or rather, he started seeking a hadith in the year 179 at the age of 16 years old, and then, or rather 15 years old, and he traveled all the different countries. He reported from Ibrahim ibn Sa'ad, Ismail ibn Ulayya, Bahaz ibn Asad, and many others. And his students were, for example, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Abu Dawud, and others, many other ulama of the great hufad of hadith and things, were all the students of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah. Then Imam Ibn al-Madini. Imam Ibn al-Madini is one of the famous ulama as well. Ali ibn al-Madini. He said that إن الله تعالى حفظ هذا الدين بأبي بكر يوم الردة وبأحمد بن حنبل يوم المحنة. This is a praise that he gave to Imam Ahmad, which till today we know Imam Ahmad rahimahullah for. He says that Allah Ta'ala protected this deen at 2 times. The first time was Hazrat Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu on the day of Ridda, when the tribe started becoming murtad, those who simply refused to pay the zakah and all the other things. Allah strengthened the deen by giving Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who took a firm stance and made it clear that this is the deen, and anyone who turns away is turning away from the deen which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had brought. And where certain of the other Sahaba radiallahu anhum were more inclined to take a more, I would put it, not quite lax, but they were hesitant towards fighting other people who were Muslim now yesterday, until Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu explained his reasons, and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were immediately convinced, and they said, for example, it was as though I had not heard that ayah till today, that Allah opened the deen and the issue up like that for Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and that is how the deen was protected at that time. And the second time, Yawmul Mihna. The Mihna here refers to the problems and the tribulations and the trials during the time of the Mu'tazila and all these people here, when they came along and said that the Quran is created and stuff of that sort. They tried to bring the batil aqidah in and tried to make the Ummah accept this aqidah. And Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, that is why he's known as Imam Ahli Sunnah, the Imam of the Ahlus Sunnah. He stood firm, he stood in the face of all the punishments and everything that they meted out to him. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah stood firm and defended and said that the Quran is the uncreated speech of Allah, it is not created. And today, through Allah safeguarding the deen with Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, today we all can say that the Quran is the uncreated speech of Allah and it is not something which is created. So Imam Ahmad rahimahullah is known till today as the result of his actions in that time, that Allah protected the deen through him. All of these are Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad. If you go to the other Imam Bayhaqi, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, all of them, they are great lofty personalities, and you could take out so much time to speak on each one of their lives and you would still not even do justice to them. That's how great they were. But of course we just rushing and flying past, just basically just touching on certain things over here. But in any case, like I say, there's a lot which can be said on the lives of these people, let alone on the efforts that they made for the benefit of the deen and for the deen to be spread. Alright, so anyhow, we're going to stop on that point of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. We're moving back onwards to page 104 where we had stopped. He said, وَكَتَبْنَا أَحْوَالَهُمْ فِي كِتَابٍ مُفْرَدٍ مُسَمَّى بِإِكْمَالِ بِذِكْرِ أَسْمَاءِ الرِّجَالِ. He says, Mulana Abdul Haq ad-Dihlawi rahimahullah, he is now saying that we wrote about these ulama of hadith that Imam at-Tabrizi quoted in the beginning of Mishkat, and he said we wrote about them, their ahwal, meaning their states, like similarly to what was just passed by now of Imam Ahmad, Imam Malik, and so on and so forth. Small short biographies and things of them in a single individual kitab by the name of Al-Ikmal بذكر أسماء الرجال. That's the name of the kitab. So he says ومن الله التوفيق وهو المستعان في المبدأ والمآل. He then goes وأما الإكمال في أسماء الرجال لصاحب المشكات فهو ملحق في آخر هذا الكتاب. He says, as for this kitab الإكمال في أسماء الرجال of the author of Mishkat, he says that it is attached to the end of this kitab over here. What kitab over here? Obviously it's not this book that we are doing presently. Rather, where this was written is in the Muqaddimah of Mishkat, the original Maktaba Millat Deoband print. In that print over there, that big India print of the kitab, Al-Ikmal fi Asma'i Rijal comes right at the back after Mishkat. So the Muqaddimatun fi Usoolil Hadeeth comes in the beginning, then Mishkat comes, then Al-Ikmal fi Asma'i Rijal comes. So that is why this part that it's actually written over here is referring to that print, not this new modernized print where just the Muqaddimah was extracted and published as a freestanding book. In any case, he says, تم الفراغ من نسخ هذه المقدمة ووضع العناوين الجانبية لها وترقيم فوائدها للشيخ عبد الحق المحدث الدهلوي رحمه الله تعالى بيد الفقير إلى الله سلمان الحسيني الندوي يوم الجمعة which is التاسع من شعبان المعظم عام 1404 بلكنو الهند. He says that here he has completed writing down this Muqaddimah, placing the heading, the subheadings, and numbering all the benefits of it. This kitab, which is written by Maulana Sheikh Abdul Haq al-Dihlawi rahimahullah ta'ala, which was written by this is Maulana Salman al-Husseini al-Nadwi, who is writing this whole part here. He completed it on Friday, the day of Jumu'ah, Sha'ban, in the year 1404 in Lucknow, India. He wrote this whole book out like this, and which you can say for this purpose here, with his footnotes and everything, he completed it on this day. And then he ends and you say, والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وآله وصحبه أجمعين. تم بحمد الله. And that there is the end of page 104. It is the end of this kitab known as Muqaddimatun fi Usoolil Hadeeth, and it is the, so to say, the first kitab that we have completed as a complete series, which was dealt with in detail, which was a very enjoyable class for myself to teach as well. This kitab on this particular science of Mustalahul Hadeeth and everything of the sort here. Okay, so anyhow, like I say, this is the end of the kitab, Muqaddimatun fi Usoolil Hadeeth. It is, like I say, our first complete, real kitab that we have completed. Not a small kitab, but a whole topic. And as long as you have understood everything, if you made perhaps footnotes and translations and stuff for yourself as we came along, and you are able to go back, and inshallah, as you know, everything has been, all the classes have been recorded, so slowly but surely, inshallah, they will all be placed up on YouTube for future reference. So if there's anything, maybe there's something you forgot here or there, whatever, it will be available there on YouTube on the Ummah radio channel to, like I say, to have a listen again to the classes. If there's something you don't understand, or in any case, if there's anything you don't understand, you can always feel free to ask questions as well. Alright, so Tamma bihamdillah. This was, we have finally completed this kitab, bihamdillah wa birahmatihi. So I ask Allah that Allah makes it a means of benefit, and that means of benefit for all of us, and also to understand and comprehend and have some recognition and awe for the science of hadith and of the personalities of these ulama who laid out their lives for this purpose of writing everything and recording everything and going into so much time and effort and that they spent for this purpose over here. So there is for myself as well the science of hadith is the nicest of all sciences. There is so much that the more you learn, the more you realize that just how little it is you know. Okay, the same applies to fiqh as well, but okay, for all sciences of the deen basically, but especially when it comes to the science of hadith and really understanding the when it comes to fiqh, a lot of ijtihad is taken into consideration over there, and the fuqaha, they basically make use of the Quran and the Sunnah which has been recorded. But for the Sunnah to have been taken and kept for the fuqaha to understand it and derive masail from it, it was the duty of these Muhadditheen to go out, spend their lives and their wealth and everything they had, and gave everything in the path of Allah to be able to gather these ahadith, safeguard it, write all these chapters, all these sciences which they brought about of jarh wa ta'dil and everything that goes along with it, to ascertain that these ahadith which we are recording here, that it is of the highest and utmost authenticity and everything of that sort, like that, so that the deen could be preserved, so that age after age and from one scholar to the next, they were able to look at the hadith. Today, 1,400 years after Hijrah, we have the books of, for example, Sahih al-Bukhari, and in fact, all these other books of hadith as well in front of us today, that through their efforts, we have these hadith today. Had they not made the effort, today, we may not have even have been Muslim, because we would not even have a source of where to get the deen from. We'd be sitting with the Quran like how the Jews were. They sit with the Torah and yet they went astray because they started making their own personal interpretations and stuff of that sort. So through the hadith we got the interpretations of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the Sahaba radiyallahu anhu as they learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and the entire deen in its entirety which have been able to come to us as a result of all this effort which they have done. So we owe everything as gratitude for these ulama, and it is such that the mercy of Allah is so vast that when it comes to Isala Thawab, that, as you can say, Sadaqa Jariyah, all these sorts of things over here, that a continuous reward for every hadith we read, for every letter we read and we benefit from, the A'imma who put out their lives for that purpose, they get the reward. For example, a teacher who taught you Alif Bata, how to so that you are able to recite the Quran. For every letter of the Quran you recite, that teacher of yours gets the reward as well, without your reward lessening nor his reward lessening in the least. And in a like manner, so every hadith we do, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, all the A'imma, those who went for Jarh wa Ta'dil to ascertain the authenticity, Imam Dhahabi, Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, Imam Ibn Kathir, all these A'imma, those who are not quite so well known, those who helped formulate the sciences, Imam Ali ibn al-Madini, the other one like Imam al-Qattan, and all the other ulama who along with who were, like you can say, friends and colleagues of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah and others. They were Hanafis, Imam Ahmad Hanbali, and they compiled and formulated the whole science of Jarh wa Ta'dil and all these sort of things, or rather I should say, they codified it, and all those things over here. So really there was a lot of effort there which they did, and everything that we do and we learn today, they have a share in all of that reward as well throughout the ages, and until the time comes when all this knowledge is removed, that reward will continuously be sent upon them bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Okay, so with that being the end of the book, if there's any questions regarding anything, you can feel free to ask your questions here now. Okay, seeing as we have no questions, then inshallah we will end on this point here. For now, at least. We're not going to throw the thing out altogether. We will do further and decide on the schedule and everything of that sort in the future. But for now, we will be stopping on this point with the end of this kitab, and we say, وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ وَسَلَّمَ وَبَارَكَ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ سُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ سُبْحَانَكَ اللَّهُمَّ وَبِحَمْدِكَ نَشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ نَسْتَغْفِرُكَ وَنَتُوبُ إِلَيْكَ وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ اللَّهِ وَبَرَكَاتُهُ.